Hey guys, welcome to this special edition of You Asked For It. And this special edition of You Asked For It is a recorded live event I did on Facebook, and I gathered some inquiries and questions and comments from my Facebook friends, and I addressed and answered those questions in this special edition of You Asked For It. We had a lot of fun, and it was a nice reprieve from all this coronavirus craziness going on. So please sit back, relax, enjoy, and hopefully you take something away from it. So I decided to do this Facebook Live to offer some doggy tips. I do this from time to time anyway, and obviously more of my focus is on my YouTube channel, where I have an assortment of doggy tips, training tips, dog care, dog health, dog nutrition. I talk about dog rescue on my YouTube channel, and I post some stuff on Facebook, but I wanted to do a Facebook Live just to do more Facebook interactions, but also because of this damn coronavirus. Everybody's cooped up. It might be a nice little reprieve. I'm sure everybody's feeling some level of anxiety one way or another regarding the virus. So there was a whole bunch of things that a whole bunch of reasons why I wanted to do this, and I'm trying to monitor the comments. So if I miss them, I apologize. I don't do Facebook Live very often, so I promise I'll get to any questions that I can catch. If I miss them, please feel free to PM me afterwards, or shoot me a message or whatever, and I'd be happy to help you. And just before we get started, I have a bunch of topics here from people requesting some feedback on Facebook. So that'll kind of be the parameters of what I offer tonight, and any other questions that hopefully I catch and I don't miss them. At any rate, I do want to start off by saying I hope everyone is safe and you and your loved ones are okay. And if you're impacted directly from this coronavirus, whether it's physically from the virus or the residual effects of the virus, my thoughts, my prayers, all my love and lots of light sent your way. It's friggin' crazy. It really is. It's a crazy time. So I just want you all to know that I'm thinking about you, and I really do pray every day, and I do pray for everyone. I hope you're all doing okay. So although I have certain topics for tonight, a lot of the solutions that I'm going to offer, they can apply to anyone. So, and again, if you have specific questions, pop them in the comments. Hopefully I will see them, and if I don't, I'm sorry, but I will get to you afterwards at any rate. So we're going to get right to it. Before I start offering the specific questions I got, I do want to offer a couple of things about dog behavior in general. As it relates to what I'm going to be going over, I don't know these dogs. I don't know all of the specifics that I usually need to know to offer virtual advice. Like when I do my Zoom video consultations, I have an opportunity to really dig deep into a person's environment and situation. So some of my solutions, they may be a little superficial. Nevertheless, you can still apply these, and if you need more help, obviously, like I said, you can contact me afterwards. If your situation requires a little more one-on-one attention, again, I do offer Zoom video consultations, and my YouTube channel. I'll make sure in fact, I should probably put that in there. I'm going to do this on the fly. Let me put that in there. I'll pop in my YouTube channel. Because there is a lot of good information on there for a variety of topics. Two of my primary playlists on YouTube are my Doggy Quick Tips and my You Asked For It segments, and those have a lot of good quality content in there, so feel free to check that out. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so as well, because then you'll get notified when I upload new content. I upload new content weekly, so that'll give you a little more advice and suggestions to complement what we're going to be going over tonight. So with dog behavior in general, whether it's basic training or maybe some modification you have to do with your dog or dogs, a couple of simple rules which everybody knows about. They need adequate exercise, mental and physical stimulation, good structure in the household. But when it comes to learning, oftentimes dogs are products of their environment, much like we are. And if your environment is not conducive to the goals that you want to achieve with your dog, you need to make those modifications. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we go over this list that I have. you have to be cognizant that everything in your dog's life could potentially affect behavior, positively and negatively, okay? Another big tidbit about dog behavior: dogs do everything, and I mean everything, for a reason, okay? So what I mean by that is, if there is no outcome to a behavior, your dog is going to abandon that behavior. Now, that could work for and against you, right? If you pet your little 4-month-old puppy when she is jumping on your shin, well, fast forward when that dog is 8 months old and 65 pounds and launching at your midsection, right? That was a byproduct of environmental factors, you being the environmental factor who inadvertently rewarded an unwanted behavior. Not looking forward to when the dog was bigger and this learned behavior, and all of a sudden it becomes a problem. It's not a problem for the dog, right? It's a problem for the people, but it's not a problem for the dog. So just keep those things in mind. Dogs do everything for a reason, and when a behavior doesn't suit their needs, they will abandon it. That's why ignoring certain behaviors is such an effective tool to eradicate behaviors. And we'll talk more about the stuff as we go on. So let's get right to it. Hopefully this is streaming okay. Sometimes I feel like there's a delay. So I don't know. Is this streaming okay? Can you guys pop some comments in the feed? Are you hearing me okay and it's streaming fine, or is it a little blotchy? Okay. All right. So Michele from Facebook, she had asked me. We corresponded a little bit, a while ago, and we never really got around to hooking up. And so that I know a little bit about her situation, but again, I don't know full details of everything. So my suggestions may be a little superficial, but bear with me. How do you go about keeping your dog from getting overly excited, friendly excited, when seeing people or other dogs on a walk? Okay, so this might be a little simplistic. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it. And thank you, Carolyn and Emily. I appreciate that. I never know what it looks like on the other end because I'm not on the other end. Anyway, when we talk about something like a walk, right? And I think walking is one of the best things that we could do for our animals. Dogs especially, obviously. If we walk our dog a lot, that's good, but it also offers many opportunities for behaviors to become reliable. Okay, now a reliable behavior can also be a bad behavior. So if Kathy's walking her dog and she walks her dog 3 times a day, right? That's 21 times throughout the week that dog gets excited on a walk. And it's still going on, so I know that the behavior's not modified yet. So what that means is that the excited behavior on the walk is a successful behavior for the dog, okay? Dogs will perpetuate successful behaviors. Now, the success of a behavior is defined by the dog, not us. And what I mean by that is if the dog gets excited on the walk and Michele allows the dog to continue to advance on the walk to get to the target, meaning the person or dog that her dog is happy and excited to see, right? That happy, excited overstimulation is going to strengthen and perpetuate because it's a behavior that provides a successful outcome to the dog, right? So, simple questions which I don't have the answers to, which I'll probably have to get to Michele one-on-one to discuss, but how does the dog walk around the property, right? In the backyard, in the front yard, maybe just a couple of houses back and forth away from the house where distractions are low. How does the dog behave when there's no distractions? Furthermore, what kind of work is being put in to work on impulse control behaviors, whether it's just teaching a simple, reliable sit command. So if the dog does get overstimulated, you have that sit command to resort to as a means to manage an encounter when you're out and about, right? So that, again, it's a superficial example, but don't underestimate the value of a reliable sit, okay? We all teach our dogs sit down, come, stay, all that stuff because we want to teach our dogs obedience, okay? Obedience is not necessarily synonymous with obedient, You understand? Right? You can have a dog that's super good with obedience and treats, but is really not obedient, meaning when push comes to shove, your dog doesn't listen to you. So that's the difference between obedience and obedient. And that's where, and yes, you want to use treats and whatever you need to do to work on obedience in your household where distractions are low, all that good stuff. But that's the difference between a dog that knows obedience and a dog that is obedient. And the only way to get to obedience all the way to obedient is repetition. And I say it all the time. Anyone who's seen my channel or heard me speak anywhere, I say it till I'm blue in the face. Repetition creates reliability. Okay, so Michele has to start, first of all, when she takes that leash out. All right, what's the dog's state of mind when the leash is out? Does the dog get all right? And then she puts the leash on and goes out the front door. Right? Again, excited, super crazy behavior gets the dog where she or he needs to go. So that's a successful behavior. So that dog will always be excited getting out on the walk. So first and foremost, how are we starting the walk? Right? If you're starting the walk crazy, forget it. I mean, you're going to be fighting the whole way. And if you start the walk calm, yeah, you're still going to have to do some work, right? But you got to start calm. And then this whole calm thing is going to come into play, a couple of other items on this list as well. So work on repetition inside the house, in the backyard where distractions are low. Get that leash out. If your dog is super excited when the presentation of the leash is there, that you have to work on that. The dog, let's just say your dog is a level 10 excitement when you bring that leash out. You do not leash the dog, okay? Wait for the dog to get down to like a 9 or an 8, okay? Like a level 9, level 8, hopefully a level 8. And then put the leash on. If you do that 3 times a day, 21 times a week, that level 8, that becomes your new level 10, right? So you notched off a couple of spikes of energy, right? So, and then you work on it a little more, right? And wait for the dog to get to a 6 or a 7, and then that becomes your new 10. And ideally, you get to a 2 or a 3, but none of us do. We don't. I don't even do it. Like, my dogs are happy to see the leash. As long as they're not launching at me and they're not acting like lunatics and dumbasses, it doesn't matter, right? They're my pet dogs. They're not military dogs, right? So most of us get to like a 5 or a 6. Our dogs are a little excited but manageable, right? But if we have an overstimulated dog on walks, we do want to shoot for lower stimulation levels when we start the walk. So that's that. Obviously, I'll have to talk more in depth with Michele, and let me see if I'm missing anything else here on my notes. Yeah, and it's dogs or people, so it doesn't really matter. Which is good because that gives you more opportunities to work on the behavior. And bring treats. And if you want, you can bring higher value food rewards like chopped up hot dogs or something you don't normally use, something that's super high value. You're more likely to get your dog's attention when faced with that stimulation, right? Whether it's a person or a dog, or a person and a dog. So that's that. All right, moving on. Oh, and let me see. I think I have. So I do have a jumping excited video that I will pop in the link right here, and I'll pop these down in the description when I'm done too. But I want to try and do this on the fly so you guys get these while I'm going. Oh wow, we have. Okay, there's. I see. I got to scroll down here to see everybody. All right. Okay, so that's one video pertaining to Michele's situation, jumping and excited, not necessarily on a walk, but I do have a crazy on the walk video on my channel as well, and I will paste that right in there so you can see that. Kerry, my dog, literally spits out Okay, so before I move on, I want to address Kerry. I caught her comment. So I'm guessing, Kerry, your dog spits out treats because she or he is too overstimulated in a given situation. That would be my guess. So that tells me that you have to start with lower distractions when you're working your dog before you start exposing your dog to higher distractions and expect her or him to respond. Okay, that's the rule of thumb with any kind of training, whether it's obedience or behavior modification. You always start with when distractions are as low as possible before you start adding distractions to the equation, right? Because if your dog doesn't listen to you 100% of the time inside with no distractions, forget about it outside. In fact, I have my 50% formula, right? If your dog listens to you 80% of the time inside the house with no distractions and you're having problems outside, cut their reliability in half. Your dog will listen to you 40% outside when distractions are present, if you're lucky. So always start small. So, okay, hopefully that helps, Kerry. Anyway, okay, so we have Kayla from Facebook as well. How to get your 1-year-old pitty to understand, although it's fun to jump 6 feet in the air, we shouldn't do that because it makes people scream. I guess someone taught the dog thinking it was a valuable skill. She literally sprints across the dog park and jumps in the air to lick someone's face and runs off before she can get to her. They think it's funny or cute, but mostly it's not. Okay, so a few things here. Make sure I'm not missing anyone. And I apologize if anyone can't stay. I have no time limit on this. I just want to try and get it in, about an hour or so. I know there's a big update later on from the government or something. I don't want to interfere with anyone's time, but if you have to leave, this will be available on Facebook. But I want to try and make this as thorough as possible without boring any of you. And if I'm getting boring, just say, shut up, Jeff, move on. All right, so first and foremost, Kayla's taking her dog to the dog park, which it is good, and I have a video. I didn't know. It just occurred. I have a video. I have a pit bull advocacy playlist on my YouTube channel as well, and there's a video in there about pit bulls and dog parks. Which I'm not saying that some pit bulls can't be at dog parks, and most can do very well for social reasons and pit bull advocacy reasons. I'm not a fan of pit bulls being in dog parks. I'm not saying that some can't. It's just, if the crap hits the fan and there's an altercation, it's going to be our fault. So Kim's telling me to shut up. I'm sorry, Kim, we're only 20 minutes in. You're screwed. Yeah, so I'm not going to get too into that topic. You could check out my position on pit bulls and dog parks on my YouTube channel. But at a year old, a friendly pitty hasn't matured yet. Probably, if your dog has the potential to become animal intolerant, like many terriers can be, all 20 some odd terriers in the group can all become animal intolerant when they mature, regardless of how wonderfully they were brought up. It can happen with the terrier group. But at a year old, you probably have a typical happy-go-lucky pitty who loves everybody and everything. So we go into the dog park. People, and I see the dog yanking their owners to the dog park. They get in the gate, they unhook the leash, and it's zoom, right? The dog, think about all this energy that's building and building and building and building, and then you let go of the leash, right? What kind of control do you think you can possibly have over your dog, right? And again, it goes back to keeping things simple. If you don't have control of your dog outside the dog park, right? And a 1-year-old pitty, geez, they're a bundle of energy anyway, right? You may actually have now, and I should have had this disclaimer before we started. I don't know if any of these dogs are truly aggressive or anything like that. So if you have a truly aggressive dog, you should probably hire a local trainer to get a good professional assessment on your dog. So I'm offering some information under the assumption these are dogs with just some minor quirks that we have to work out. So if your dog is good on leash, right, because you can add a leash to an equation that can cause anxiety and perceived aggression. But if your dog is still the same happy-go-lucky goofball on leash, you may need to do some leash work in the dog park. I look like Bean. My eyes. Thanks, Shanna. So yeah, if you have to put your dog on a leash in the dog park and do some work, that's part of the process. Now, the biggest issue here is people that say, "Oh, it's okay," and no, if it's not okay for you, then it's not okay for your dog to do that. And I don't know many people who can catch a pit bull that's running. I mean, especially a 1-year-old that's in the overstimulated environment like a dog park. So you may have to start leash training your dog in there first. And that doesn't mean your dog's not going to start running around like a lunatic, but you can at least go up to people, right, in the dog park before you let your dog loose, and try to get like a rapport with them and talk to them and say, explain to them what you're trying to accomplish. Most people will help you if you want, if you just let them know, look, he's really friendly, and it does bother me. I don't want him jumping. If he jumps on you, please just ignore him. And then that's because you can't ask them to train your dog, but you can ask them to ignore them. Most dog people understand what you're trying to accomplish if you say just ignore my dog. So try to get that rapport going with them so they can help you. And the group of dogs that's in there, you might want to pick and choose when you go into the dog park. And I've been to dog parks with my pits over the years, and I tell this story all the time. My old pit bull Amber, and a lot of people up north, they knew Amber. She was a therapy dog for 11 years. I wrote a book about her called Daddy's Little Girl, and we would go to the dog park. She was a good dog park dog. But I can tell you right now, and this is when I was up in Jersey, there was a little dog park, Brookdale Dog Park, right by our house up in Bloomfield. And I would say every 10 times I went, maybe we went in 2 or 3 times. Because number one, not only did I wasn't comfortable with the level of dogs or the stability of the dogs that were in there, I was watching the owners too. Nobody's paying attention. Who's on their phone, smoking cigarettes, not paying attention. Dogs are and maybe because I see things through a trainer's eyes, like I see things escalating. And Amber was little. She was only like 48 pounds, but she was no joke. And I would never put her in a position to fail. So I would pick and choose when I went into the dog park to make sure that I always put her in a position to succeed. So that's something you can consider too as well, Kayla. So. Again, start on a leash, your regular leash. As your dog gets better, start on a leash, lower population of dogs in the dog park. Okay, lower population, lower energy dogs. That's where you want to start. As your dog gets better, then add maybe a 20 or a 30-foot leash to the equation and work your dog that way. Right? This way, when you can allow your dogs to go up to people, but in the event you have to take control of your dog. If your dog's about to jump on someone, you can do that. Right? So keep that in mind. Let me see. Next up, and the jumping excited dog video I posted in the comments section. Kayla, you can check that out too. And again, some of those tips may help as well. But always start low distractions, low energy, and then little by little expose our dogs. And at the end of the day, you have a 1-year-old pitty. That's all I get. You have a 1-year-old pitty. I don't think I'll ever have a 1-year-old pitty ever again. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too old. I don't know. Plus, I got 3 puppies right now that I'm working on for another rescue, and they're driving me up a wall. And they just remind me that I don't think I want a puppy either. Anyway, I digress. Okay. So, from Angela. How about some advanced tips on helping an older puppy that has 0 socialization to learn appropriate play? 8 months old, lived on a chain, nips and jumps when excited, thinks corrections is engagement, and hasn't learned to self-calm. Okay, so self-calm, we often refer to those as calming signals, and that usually occurs between 2 dogs, where if 2 dogs get too excited, they might offer each other a calming signal to disconnect their rough play, or if it gets too intense, whether it's a shake, they might go urinate. Even if they don't have to urinate, they might go drink some water. And then obviously the body language stuff, rolling over and submission, things along those lines. So that would usually happen between 2 dogs, but so the self-calm thing, it may take time, especially, obviously this dog has some social deficiencies, probably associated with living on a chain, not having proper upbringing. So Kim is asking, what is appropriate play? It's relative, okay? It depends on what's acceptable to the people and
what each dog's threshold is for escalated play. So, for instance, in our household, I still call Deuce and Sable puppies. They're 6 and 7 years old. My threshold for Deuce and Sable's intensity of play is a lot higher than my wife's threshold for their play. So she cuts their play off a lot sooner than I do. And I mean, they're rock solid with each other. Deuce and Sable, we're not. We've had dogs over the years where we had to be careful. With Deuce and Sable, we can kind of pretty much let them beat the hell out of each other. Lose the hat, Phil? What, like you lost your quarterback? So I'm making sure I try to keep an eye on this thing. So I would say my good buddy Philip Cook from New England, but he's a Pats fan, so I can't really say that. So no, I'm going to keep my hat just like we're keeping our quarterback. Anyway, so thresholds it's relative, and if you have a good dog and an overexcited dog, the good older dog will usually help the younger dog with thresholds and escalations, and that's and in this case, Angela's asking about appropriate play is tough, but the best thing you could do for an older puppy is to have an adult opposite sex dog, and in this case, let's see, is he a male or a female? I can't even tell. I don't think she mentions it. Okay, well, she doesn't mention gender, but let's just say it's a male puppy. I would get a good, solid adult female to help that puppy out, because that female will correct the puppy. And I'm not talking about fights. We don't want it to get to that point. We may have to intervene. And this is sometimes we don't necessarily want a leash involved, because a leash could cause anxiety and could cause play to go somewhere other than friendly, if that makes sense. So having an older, balanced female that has had a male. Okay, it is a male. Perfect. That's what I assumed anyway. So having that older female to correct the male and address his escalations and his stimulation spikes is important. The problem is that some dogs, they are so socially awkward and so socially deficient, they don't even know what a correction is. So that's where we have to sometimes intervene, okay? So if we have to intervene, and I don't know if this is happening inside the house or outside the house, but my formula, the rules in my house is there is no play inside, okay? And I shouldn't say no play. If our dogs are laying down, they're doing that friendly like mouthing, and they're laying down, that's fine. As soon as they stand up, play is off, okay? That's it. I don't let them escalate inside the house. Outside is for play. Inside is for calm, okay? Those are my rules. So if this is happening inside the house, that might be an approach you want to take, where inside is, it's just, there's no playing inside, and then you can, work on it outside. Wendy's mentioning he's doing it to people, old female correcting, and he's responding well to the dog. Okay, I don't understand that, but looks like he's playing too rough with people. Is that what I get out of that? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So and then Angela mentions that corrections is engagement, right? Like the little bratty kid, like me when I was a little boy, and I would throw temper tantrums in the mall. Any attention was good attention. That's how I was as a kid. Maybe my wife thinks I'm still like that. Who the hell knows? Anyway, so sometimes any kind of engagement is good as far as the dog is concerned, right? So all right. So Angela's saying the dogs are appropriately correcting him, and he responds well. The issue is his engagement with people and play, highly inappropriate. Okay, so he's nipping. I apologize. So he's nipping at people. Okay, so nipping at people again. Let's go back to Michelle's issue. Similar response, similar approach rather, different behaviors, but working on reliability in low distractions is going to help you when you introduce distractions. Okay, when you again, that reliable sit. If we only taught our dog one behavior, if I had to choose like one reliable behavior, it would probably be sit. Because and when I say reliable means the dog will sit under any circumstances. Think about that, right? Think about how much work that takes. Every single day. You got, again, repetition creates reliability. Some dogs will get it a lot faster than others. But when we have issues with social deficiency, overstimulation issues, dogs that were never socialized or exposed to different environments or social situations could, certainly be an issue. But, mouthing and nipping now with people is a little different because now we have an issue where even the most friendly, excited nip or mouth could potentially be considered a bite. And that brings us to a whole different set of circumstances that dog has to deal with for the rest of her or his life and whoever owns the dog, right? So, definitely work on reliable sits. And people who you're guinea pigs, because you're going to need guinea pigs to help you work on the dog's manners with people, right? You need some calm people to help you. People who are rushing to the dog overexcited. A normal young, older puppy rather is probably going to match the intensity of a new friend, right? So we have to make sure that we're approaching the dog in a calm manner. And make sure, little things you can do with the people is instead of approaching the dog head on, and let me see if I can get up. So instead of coming straight at the dog, maybe stand sideways, offer palm up like that. That's something you could do. This way there's not that head on direct approach. Having that perpendicular interaction could help the situation. Have that person have treats in the lower hand, when I lowered my hand, have treats in the hand so the dog goes right for the hand as opposed to trying to jump up on people. And again, it's repetition. It requires a lot of work. Once you get some good reliability with obedience, and the dog is starting to make decisions to sit as opposed to jump, then you could probably, if you had to pull the dog off, and I'm not going to talk about leash corrections, although I know the person who submitted this, she's adept she's very good at giving leash corrections if need be. She does it appropriately. She does not do it in a harmful way. So if you have to pull your dog off, you could certainly do that. But it's a yes/no thing, right? Whereas when we're rewarding good behaviors, right, that's the yes part. If we're correcting or pulling a dog off of someone, that's the no part. Right now, the dog doesn't have a yes or no. So does that make sense? So hopefully that helps. Let me scroll down here, see if I missed anything. Okay, so we're good. All right. Let me see if I hate wearing glasses. I feel like such an old son of a gun. All right, moving right along. So we have Lisa is up next. My dominant dog is very protective of me. Wants to bite anyone who comes in the front door unless he knows them. When I'm not home and my kids have friends over, he barely barks or gets up when strangers come in. Any suggestions? I had to ask what the dog's age and breed is, and a border collie mix, 9 years old. So sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but we'll get to that in a minute. He wasn't like this for the first 2 to 3 years of life prior to maturity. Right? Going back to how terriers can develop intolerance, herding dogs can develop territoriality or protective behavior. He also picks and chooses we see on the walk. Other than that, he's perfect, very smart. He does eventually make friends, but it takes a long time. She has some friends come over often, takes him a while, and then he kisses and goes crazy. Okay, so let's discuss the dominant dog, okay? I don't know how many dogs I've trained in my life, thousands, right? I don't know how many I've met, tens of thousands, over the course of 25 years, okay? I met a handful of dominant dogs, okay? And for trainers that say, or behavior people say that there's no such thing, there is. But I could tell you right now, we trainers don't work with dominant dogs. A truly dominant dog does not exhibit any imbalanced behavior. Dominant dogs are very balanced. I met a handful of of those types of dogs who just got everything under control. There is never a need to escalate their behavior under normal circumstances. That's not to say that any dog, the old backed into a corner or the fight or flight thing come into play. Sure, dominant dogs are few and far between. You probably have a typical herding type dog that developed some territoriality and protective behavior, and it sounds like it's isolated to you. If you had a true guarder in your house, it would probably be a little more generalized. And again, this is just a guess. I don't know your dog, right? That's the hard part about doing this stuff virtual, whether I do this or my Zoom consultations or my YouTube stuff. It's hard when I don't actually know the dog, so I'm just kind of guessing around here. So, but if your dog was really territorial, it would probably be generalized in the house. But it sounds like if we remove you from the situation, the dog is fine. So perhaps you could strengthen your relationship with the dog, and it's not, you're probably the primary caregiver. You may even be the one who takes care of the dog more than anyone else, which conventional wisdom suggests, oh, well, if I'm the one doing most of the work with the dog should respect me the most, which sometimes is certainly the case. But the more interactions you have with your dog, the more opportunities that you have where the dog makes decisions that suit her or his needs as opposed to our expectations of the dog. So problem is breed, right? And I'm a pit bull guy. I don't like to talk about breed stuff. Herding dogs, that's what they do for a living, right? They keep shit away from shit. that's what they do. It's Facebook. I said the S word. Sorry about that. Hey, that's all I said. You guys are in good shape. Usually I have an F-bomb coming out here or there, but I'm trying to be on my best behavior. And then the age. It's never too late to teach an old dog new tricks. It is harder. It's harder because it requires more repetition. Remember I spoke about earlier, repetition creates reliability. That holds true for any dog of any age. The older the dog and the more solidified their behaviors are, whatever behaviors that you're trying to modify, the more repetition you need to implement in the dog's life to modify that. I gotta take a swig of water, sorry. We have a couple of comments here. Oh, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. And yes, Bobby, you are an enabler. We're all enablers, Bobby. I don't care what anybody says. Sometimes I come back from a training appointment and I just get done telling a client, don't do this with your dogs. And then I come home, I do the same exact crap with my dogs. So we're all guilty of that. There's nothing wrong with loving our dogs. Anyway, Lisa, that you have to create a lot of repetition. So what that means is you're going to need some guinea pigs, preferably ones that your dog doesn't know. And again, this isn't isolated to the house, right? Because you're saying this happens on walks intermittently as well. But it seems like you are the common denominator. So you need, and again, I don't know your dog personally, so it's going to be hard for me, especially, a 9-year-old dog that, has some, and let me reread this before I say that. Where did I see that? Oh yeah, okay, on walks, he picks and chooses who he wants to go after. That's a huge indictment. That suggests to me your dog is willing to bite. So obviously safety is an issue. So having good safety precautions. Oh shoot, let me scroll down. Liz, Border Collie. Yeah, I know. They're great dogs, and we'll get to the working part of it in a minute. Okay. Trisha, Whiskey is the pole. So I can't even call her a client. She's a good friend of ours now. Whiskey's he's a dog that we absolutely love, and he's similar to what Lisa's dog is. You remove the handler and the dog is fine. And it's not even, we've done it on walks because Trish and I, we do pack walks and we walk together with dogs. And, actually the last time we were there, Whiskey went after a stroller. Not because there was a kid in it, just because it was a stroller and he was going after it. And so we switched dogs. I gave Trish my dog and I took Whiskey. And I didn't even do anything with him, really. It was just a change of environment. And the environmental change was the handler. And the second time we came around and we saw the woman again, no issues. So we people are part of our dog's environment. So, all right, so Lisa's saying she's the primary caregiver. She spends 80% of the time. He goes everywhere with me, and she works from home. We have a strong bond. Okay, so that leads us to successful behaviors, right? And that's that dog's job, which is a great segue. I was just, Liz had mentioned she's a border collie owner, and I said I'd talk about, breed traits and characteristics and having a job. So it's possible that is the dog's job. So, you need the guinea pigs to come in so you can work the dog, to let the dog understand what you want from him. And if you're having visitors come over, you don't want the dog sitting. If you're sitting on the couch, the dog should not be sitting in front of you, because you're putting that dog in their employment position, if you will, right? The dog's all ready to do his job. And then on walks, you do have to identify, and although I understand the hit or miss as to who the dog wants to go after, and maybe, Lisa and I can get together on, afterwards to talk about this a little more in depth. But most of the time, not all the time, there's exceptions to every rule. Most of the time, we can identify certain triggers, whether it's tall people, short people, big people, little people, people with uniforms, people with hats, people with different ethnicities. There's all sorts of things that we could potentially pinpoint, a trigger as to what the dog is targeting. Maybe it's a person with big dogs. Maybe it's a person with little dogs. Maybe it's a person walking male dogs or female dogs. Whatever the case may be, any kind of trigger that we can identify would be helpful. It's not essential, but it's certainly helpful. But it sounds like his behavior is more random than anything else. And yes, he has bitten people, she said. Okay. So we have a legitimate risk here, and this is where something like this. Now we have a 9-year-old dog, which doesn't mean we can't fix the behavior, but you may need to hire someone to come into your home where you can have some guidance on a walk, and you'd be surprised handing your leash over to a professional handler to give you, just so you could see the change. Sometimes that's all it takes is a different handler, like I was just talking about. Sometimes a different handler will change the dog's behavior because we're eliminating his job. He doesn't need to protect you because you're not part of the equation anymore, right? Now, that's not the solution, but that is part of the process to understand how we can get through to the dog. And then, whether you need a handling tool or some kind of walking aid to help facilitate teaching your dog the yeses and nos, whether it's a no-pull harness or a star mark collar or whatever the case may be. And I'm not going to get into tools. We can really get sidetracked if I start talking about tools and all that stuff. So, but high value food rewards is always a good go-to. Okay, and when I say high value food rewards, something super high value the dog normally doesn't get, where maybe your dog only gets it on a walk. Right? Or you're only going to give it to your dog when you're working him, when you're having your guinea pigs come over the house. Obviously, having your dog on leash when strangers come over, that's obviously a good safety measure. But again, how you're with the dog 80% of the time. How reliable is the dog's behavior when there's no distractions? Right? That's the thing. Does the dog listen to you all the time? 100% of the time when there's no distractions. How often does the dog respond to you when there's happy distractions? Maybe the kids come home from school, or you have a couple of the dog's friendly guests, guests that the dog actually likes. Does your dog listen to you? Right? if the answer is most of the time, then forget about your dog listening to you when there's an actual threat involved, because that's really what the dog perceives a threat and is herding, H-E-R-D, not H-U-R-T, H-E-R-D, herding the threat away. If the threat doesn't go away, or the dog has to escalate his behavior, obviously, and you just mentioned he's willing to escalate his behavior to physical contact. So definitely a concern. And again, the breed is a tough one. Like I said, that's what they do for a living, right? They protect. So it's not a lost cause. 9 years old, right? Just you're going to need more repetition. More repetition, more opportunities to fine-tune obedience and make sure that your dog is obedient, right? And again, if we have to talk more in depth, we could talk more in depth, online, offline rather. So, Shanna wrote something. You're keeping Zeus, by the way. Yeah. What, you thought he was going somewhere? My friend Shanna, who was she thought she was fostering a dog. I didn't think she was fostering a dog. I thought she was just in denial, and apparently she was. Okay. He's still not wanting any part of foster fail. He needs time. We got this. Yeah. I didn't think he was leaving. Sorry. We love foster failures. I'm a foster failure too. We do it all the time. It's terrible, but we love it. Anyway. All right. Okay, what time is it? It's 20 after 6. All right, I'll try and get you guys out. I'll let you get me out of your hair soon. Yeah, no, Lisa, you're welcome. And I kind of jumped around a little bit, and I'm trying to cram as much stuff into a short time as possible. But hit me up. We could talk about it in depth. There's other things that we could talk about specific to your dog. I would need to ask some more questions though regarding just overall care over the course of the dog's life. Some things like that we would need to talk about. So definitely hit me up. Okay. All right, Carolyn, how to teach an 8-month-old, 28-pound puppy that smaller dogs are not chew toys, and she needs to play more gently, and how to teach weight and impulse control to the same puppy whose longest time to wait is roughly 1.5 seconds. Okay, 8-month-old puppy. So the short answer is wait till the dog is 28 months old. No, I'm just kidding. I know, I'm kidding. So sorry, sometimes I make myself laugh. Yeah, Kerry, another sucker. Foster failure. We're all suckers. Yes, they do, Robin. All right. I digress. Okay, so Carolyn is talking about inappropriate play, and I'm going to post this video here. Hold on, let me just copy this real quick. This is another video about rough play between two dogs you can check out. Obviously, we're going to talk about it now, but again, on my YouTube channel. Incidentally, my cheap plug, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, and I don't mind doing these things for free, but if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, it certainly helps me out. And there's really a lot of good content on there. I try to make my segments under 10 minutes, and most of them are pretty quick hits. And I'm not a super duper video editing guy, but I try to break it up a little bit so the videos are not too monotonous yet still deliver valuable information. And if there's any content you want to see on my channel, you guys could let me know as well, and I'm happy to always add new content. In fact, I'm always looking for new content to add. But anyway, so yeah, Carolyn, check that video out that I just posted there. So here's the thing is, we go back to appropriate play or inappropriate play. Is it inappropriate to the dogs, or is it inappropriate to Carolyn? Okay, and this goes back to how I was describing, my wife's threshold for my dog's play is a lot lower than my threshold. And anyone who has ever talked to me or watched my videos, I'm super strict about having consistent rules, right? But as your dogs get older and they develop into their, mature personalities and temperaments and behaviors, and their obedience is reliable, and each caregiver has developed their own strong relationship with each dog, we can have a different set of rules, and that's exactly what happens in our house. We have different sets of play rules. All the other rules in the house are the same because, we have pit bulls, and as much as we love them, they could be a little grumpy sometimes towards each other, but so, because not only are we foster failures, but we don't foster fail great dogs. A lot of times we're foster failing the train wrecks, so we have to have really strict rules, and so we do run a tight ship. But with play, we do have two sets of rules for play. My wife's rules for play and my rules for play, and it works because the dogs are obedient with both of us. That's why it works. We can cut them off. We could disconnect them, individual of each other. I don't need to help my wife. She doesn't need to help me. We both got it. Does that make sense? So is the rough play uncomfortable for the little dog or for Carolyn? Right? I don't know the answer to that, so I'll have to address both real quick. So most of the time, it's uncomfortable to the human. When a dog is uncomfortable, they exhibit communications towards I hate to use this word, but for lack of a better word, the aggressor, or the intense dog. In this case, it's the 28-pound puppy that seems to be, she wants her to play more gently with the little dog, okay? Who's to say the little dog is playing gently, right? There is that part of it. Okay, just because the little dog may not be impacting the larger puppy in a physical manner, like knocking it over, it physically can't. It doesn't mean the little dog isn't playing just as intensely as the puppy. So there is that to consider. If the dogs are playing and there's reciprocity going on, there's probably no issue. And what I mean by that, basic reciprocity, the dogs continue to play with each other. Right? Dogs play with each other. If there's an issue or the play gets too intense, and I'm assuming both the puppy and the little dog, they're both regular, normal, balanced dogs. If it gets too rough, there'll be a calming signal, whether it's a yelp or even a growl. A growl can be, now when I say calming signal is something that dogs exhibit to disconnect from a situation. So, usually with puppies, you hear yelps. If puppies are playing and those puppy teeth get in too deep, one of the puppies will yelp, and that stops the play for a split second, and then they're back at it, right? That's a calming signal. So, but if there's reciprocity and the two dogs are playing with each other, you're probably okay. Okay, there's probably not much to worry about. It's probably more of a human thing. Now, if the little dog is at physical risk, even if there is reciprocity, right? Because a 28-pound puppy on a 5-pound Chihuahua that's playing too rough, or like an Italian Greyhound, or dogs that tend to have are a little more prone to physical injuries, then yeah, you might have to cut it off. But and it says right here, that's with the wait command, so she needs to play more gently. Going back to what I said earlier, is play allowed in the house? Is this happening in the house, or is it in the yard? You might want to start making a new set of rules. Inside the house is calm. And on my YouTube channel, I have a 7-day dog care challenge. And actually, the one video I talk about inside the house should be calm, right? Everything should be calm in the house. Now, if you don't want it to be calm in the house and you want it to be a battle royale and have a melee in there, that's fine. It's your house, and who am I to judge? But if you're having something going on that you're uncomfortable with, you need to change, right? It sounds goofy, but if nothing changes, nothing changes. So now with the wait command, and she had mentioned too that she uses the wait command for everything, and the puppy waits for 1.5 seconds before she loses her crap and then starts bouncing again. So that tells me that after 1.5 seconds, the dog gets whatever she wants. So there is no need to wait, right? And again, where does this happen? Start with no distractions. And I know Carolyn mentioned she does feed her too. Are you feeding in the crate? I would strongly suggest feeding in the crate because that gives the dog a physical cue, like a physical barrier, right? Where you could open the crate door with giving a wait command before you put that food bowl down. If the dog tries to bum rush, close the door and wait. The dog can't go anywhere. That's where I would start, right? Because the dog has to wait. And this is where, again, going back to that sit, a reliable sit can manage so many different situations and behaviors, right? So if the dog has a reliable sit, and then we add the wait to it, and I like using hand signals, whether you're using stay or wait, doesn't really matter. But start simple. Start with food, right? Because if the dog's not going to sit and wait 2 seconds for food, it's not going to wait 2 seconds to get out the front door. It's not going to wait 2 seconds to get out of the car, wherever you are. Start simple. Start with feeding, right? And there's a lot of controversy about using feeding time as training, but you're not starving the dog. You're just having the dog work a little bit for food. Who cares? I don't even know why there's controversy about it, but believe me when I say there is. In fact, years ago, I think like 15 years ago, I don't even know when, somebody criticized me for, I don't know, it wasn't 15 years ago because it happened, it was probably 10 years ago. I posted, this is probably when I first joined Facebook in like 2008, posted a video of me having my dog sit and stay for his food. Now, he was already an adult, already was reliable in all of his obedience, but he would drool and he would get bubbles coming out of his mouth, and it was friggin' hysterical. So I posted a video of him sitting and staying for his food, and ironically, we got this comment from somebody in England that I was an abusive trainer because I was using food to train my dog. Whatever. I don't even care anymore, but the bottom line is that you're using a dog's valuable resource to help improve a behavior that at some point in the dog's life, and all kidding aside, could be a very dangerous behavior. If your dog's not going to sit and wait at the front door, what if he bolts out and gets hit by a car? Right? Would you rather withhold food for 5 seconds to start training, or have your dog bolt out of the front door? I know what I would opt for. So start small, Carolyn. Start with the wait command with the food in the crate, which a puppy anyway should still be eating at least one of her meals inside the crate anyway. Just start there, and then in the household with no distractions. Maybe I don't even have a treat. I'll use my jump drive. If I put a treat here and I have the dog gonna sit here and just have the dog wait, and if the dog comes over, I could just, you can't see it. I could just cover the food and then release it when the dog sits and stays for a couple of seconds. And remember, if the dog is only sitting for if the dog is only waiting for 1.5 seconds, that's your reward marker. That's when you reward the dog, at 1.5 seconds. Because if you're not rewarding 1.5 seconds and making 1.5 seconds reliable, you're not going to get to 2.5 seconds. And I know this sounds so crazy that we're talking about literally half-second increments, but I'm telling you, the time it takes to get from 1.5 seconds to say 3.5 seconds might be 2 weeks of work. Every single day, multiple times a day. It might take 2 weeks to gain 2 seconds. But guess what? When you gain those 2 seconds, it'll take you a couple of days to get to 30 seconds. Right? That's how it's going to unfold, I promise you. But again, repetition creates reliability. Number one, if we don't create these opportunities to work the dog and increase their repetition, we're not going to get reliable behavior. And number two, if that dog keeps getting rewarded for breaking the wait command, meaning you say wait and the dog's like, screw you, I'm going, and the dog gets something, anything, that's positive reinforcement, right? We think positive reinforcement. We sit, give the dog a treat, that's positive reinforcement. No, not necessarily. Positive reinforcement is defined by the dog, not us, okay? What is rewarding a dog's behavior? It's called a consequence, and we think consequence in negative terms. A consequence in psychology is basically an outcome. In fact, I actually just emailed one of my students about this earlier today. A consequence is an outcome, right? And what validates that outcome to reinforce the behavior, meaning the dog will increase that behavior. That behavior will become more reliable. That's the whole premise of positive reinforcement. If the dog doesn't have to wait and can go get a toy or can go play with the other dog, right? That's it. That the dog will wait and go get her reward all on her own. She don't need you, right? So start simple, start small. Use feeding as your go-to for now. Okay. And again, 1.5 seconds to 3.5 seconds. That's your goal right now. Start small, because when you start small, you get from 3.5 seconds to 30 seconds to 5 minutes if you want. But again, repetition creates reliability. So I'm just going to scroll through here. I went over an hour by a couple of minutes. I apologize. I don't want to be disrespectful of your time. I tried to keep this to an hour. And incidentally, this will be available on Facebook. I'm pretty sure. I've only done a few lives on Facebook, but I'm pretty sure it'll be under my videos, and it'll be for anyone if you want to share it or whatever. Okay, so that's all I had from my comments earlier. Let me get another swig of water. And I think I'm going to do another one of these. I mean, God knows how long this darn quarantine thing is going to last, but we can't stop taking care of our dogs. We can't stop training our dogs, right? They're either going forward or they're going back. So, at any rate, that's all I have. Again, I'm going to do another one of these to try and break up the monotony of this darn coronavirus stuff. But anyone has any other questions, comments, or suggestions, please drop them in the comments below, message me, whatever the case may be. And I'd be happy to answer them. And please don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, subscribe so you get notified when I upload new content. And I hope everyone stays safe. Heed the advice of what we're being told, the whole social distancing, which I work from home, so I don't do much social engagement anyway. But at any rate, I hope everyone stays safe, and I will see you all soon. And I really appreciate you guys joining, and I hope, again, although some of the advice might have been superficial, I hope it helps you guys out, and have a wonderful evening.